is up, guys? I'm Heath Pierce, and it is time for the Kick Power Rankings. Now, let me remind you, the Kick Power Rankings are not just a list of the best teams in the world. This is a list of the teams that no one would want to be coming up against right now. And just like last week, we're struggling to find the teams that we want on our list. Such an unpredictable year. And because it's the end of winter and we're generally in a grumpy mood these days while we wait for the springtime sunshine to come, let's kick it off with our biggest losers. First up, it's Arsenal. They are my weekend's biggest loser, my season's biggest loser, and they might as well be my decade's biggest loser as well at this point. I'm just plain disappointed. But I'm also excited at what the future could bring should Arsenal spend a season in the Europa League or completely out of European competition for a change of pace because they need change. But some things don't change, and this weekend Arsenal dropped all 3 points yet again. It's their 4th league loss in their last 5 matches for the record, this time a 3-1 loss to West Brom. Dawson had a brace for the Baggies, and Robson Kanu got on the score sheet as well. Alexis did draw the game level for Arsenal at 1 point as well, but that meant nothing as he's just making sure his stats look great enough for his summer transfer. The question still remains though, does Wenger go or does he stay? There is rumors that he's getting a 1-year extension. There's also rumors of a 2-year extension, and over the weekend rumors started to fly about Dortmund manager Thomas Tuchel being linked with the job, though media outlets have squashed that rumor pretty quickly. Regardless, Arsenal internally and externally finally have the makings of a club in total distress. Change is coming, and big shout out as well to Manchester United, who are finally out of 6th place. Consider that a gift from the Emirates. Speaking of Manchester United, our next biggest loser is Victor Valdez. The former United and Barcelona goalkeeper had a rough weekend. With his team Middlesbrough clawing their way back into the match and putting serious pressure on Mourinho's men, Valdez wiped out on the slippery surface, gifting Valencia the clinching goal and further piling the pressure on his team, who are now 5 points from Premier League survival. That means that all 3 of the northeast of England's teams repped in the Premier League this season could be down in the Championship next year. Whoops. On to our next big loser, it's Manchester City. And haters, take a breath. We don't have an agenda against City. We are just being realistic here. In just 5 days, City's ambition feels like it was turned on its head. Against Monaco, they got beat by a more exciting, more passionate team in Monaco's young kids, and I don't think Pep and his squad ever saw it coming. Monaco ripped the hearts out of their chests and they stomped on it. Fast forward to this weekend, and it felt like yet again another case of nearly moments for City. Liverpool went blow for blow with City, and it was truly one of the best matches of the season. Both sides attacked in the middle part of the pitch with serious pace, and there could have been about 7 penalties because of the attacking threat. But both struggled to find that final finishing touch on a very slick and sloppy Manchester pitch. Ultimately, it ended 1-1 through a penalty from City's former player Milner early in the second half, while Aguero finally found his scoring touch to tap home a perfect De Bruyne cross to equalize in the 69th minute. Both teams had golden chances to win the match, but we had to settle for a draw. Can't remember a game where both teams will be so pleased to take any points while being so disappointed not to win as well. For City, they are down to just an FA Cup and Champions League spot to play for this season. Certainly not what we expected when they brought Pep in last summer. The next of our losers is Sevilla. So much potential, but they've just squandered it away in just a matter of a few weeks. They lost to Atletico in La Liga this week in 3-1 with goals coming from Godin, Griezmann, and Koke, while Correa pulled one back late for Sevilla. They were knocked out of the Champions League in the last round as well. Going out in the round of 16 isn't anything to be ashamed of, but they did probably have the easiest draw of anyone when they got Leicester, so they have to be devastated. A few weeks ago, we also pretty much felt they were safe to finish top 3 in La Liga and good enough to avoid that Champions League playoff spot. But with the loss to Atletico and 2 draws prior, they are dangerously close to giving up everything they worked so hard for this year. Only 2 points clear in 3rd place, and they still have Barca, Real, and Valencia left on their schedule. Yikes. And in Germany, as we predicted, the high-flying run of RB Leipzig has unceremoniously ended. Now, before any of you get upset, should we have any RB Leipzig fans watching the show, I'm not talking about them as a club or their future. I'm speaking purely on the fact that they spent the first half of the season, their first ever season in the Bundesliga, in a title race. They lost to Bremen 3-0 away from home, bringing their winless streak to 3 and 13 points out of the race. With a huge win for Dortmund over Ingolstadt, RB now have just a 3-point lead in 2nd place, and their only hope is that Thomas Tuchel and co can't manage their Champions League and league workload and are forced to cough up points between now and the end of the season. For Leipzig, though, it's important for them to not put their heads down, lock down that 2nd spot, and start recruiting new talent to come to sunny East Germany this summer. Oh, and for those of you who are interested in Leipzig's meteoric rise, check out the doc we dropped yesterday on the club. It was produced in collaboration with Rabona magazine, and in our opinion, it's pretty important to let some of the fans of Germany's most hated club speak their mind. All right, time to get to the teams that haven't disappointed us recently. Let's kick it off at number 5 in our kick power rankings, it's Leicester City. Yep, you heard us. These are the power rankings, not a list of who's going to finish highest in the league. And in this moment, no one wants to take on the newly rejuvenated Leicester City. Since sacking everyone's favorite grandpa, Claudio Ranieri, they are flying. This weekend, they knocked off West Ham 3-2 through goals from Mahrez, Hoot, and Vardy. With those names on the score sheet, sound like last year, anyone? In just a few short weeks, they went from being a point out of relegation, crashing out of the FA Cup, and being a goal down on aggregate versus a top-class Sevilla side. Since then, 4 wins in a row, including taking down Liverpool in the league and Sevilla in that Champions League tie. Shakespeare has found something special with the same group of players that made magic last year, and who knows how this season will be remembered now that they're in the final 8 of Europe. And for those of you calling us out for having them at number 5, let's toss it to a man that knows far more about this game than you or I, Zinedine Zidane. He said, "I don't think there will be a single coach who are hoping to face Leicester. They keep achieving what they are told they can't achieve." Fortunately for Zidane, crosstown rivals Atletico ended up with them instead. And at number 4, it's Monaco. It's been a good week for this French side. The team keeps on getting the job done. In the Champions League, of course, they surprised many, but not us for the record, and overcame that 5-3 aggregate lead that City built up in the first leg. And then at the weekend, their young stars kept themselves going, smashing Caen 3-0 on the road. 2 goals from Mbappé and 1 from Fabinho. The same heroes that got some of the goals against City were enough to maintain that 3-point lead over PSG, who just won't go away. Back to Mbappé for a second. You might be tired of us talking about him, but this kid is turning into a world beater in front of our eyes. 12 goals in the league, 19 in all competitions, and he only turned 18 in December. Cha-ching. Question now starts to shift to how good he can be. A lot of high praise calling him the next Thierry Henry, and that hype can be daunting for a young player, but he doesn't seem to really notice. He's going to have every team in the world lined up to sign him for $50 million plus this summer. Now, for WTF this week, aka Walk Talk Football, here's your mission. Get down into the comments and help me figure out what Mbappé should be doing this summer. Fill in the blank. If I were Mbappé with the world at my feet this summer, I would stay at Monaco and build a dynasty with the other young stars, chase the big wages of the Premier League, head to one of the biggest clubs in the world like Real. Give us your opinion, and our favorite answers will be read out loud on WTF, and of course, I'll give you my take on this kid. Moving on in our rankings, we're skipping to number 1, where we have a 3-way tie. It's Chelsea, Bayern Munich, and Juventus. When you're the top 3 teams in the world right now, and it's this late in the season, and you're all well out in front of your domestic campaigns, it's harder than ever for us to pick a number 1. Chelsea picked up a late winner from Gary Cahill to take down Stoke City 2-1 on the road. That's the DNA of champions, and I just can't see any way a caneless Tottenham will ever catch them. But for Bayern and Juventus, yes, they keep getting results in the league, like they both did with 1-0 road wins, again the DNA of champions, but now the focus shifts completely to the Champions League. The next round of games doesn't start until the 11th of April, so now's a perfect time to give some proper rest to your squad players coming out of that international break. Work some young players into the team and get ready to throw all you have left at the Champions League quarterfinals. Bayern have some team named Real Madrid, while Juve have that clash of titans with Barcelona to look forward to. How lucky we are. And one final note on Juve. Gigi Buffon has now officially played more minutes for Juventus in Serie A than any other player ever. Gigi, you are a god among men. So guys, that is our KPR list for this week. Make sure you help us sort out what Mbappé should do this summer for WTF. Follow, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys later.